And now joining me on the Ron Johnson Show, as promised, Jon Krawczynski. You know him. We all know him. He covers the Vikings when he gets a chance, but mainly Timberwolves and Wild. Jon, thanks for joining the Ron Johnson Show. And I'm going to jump right into this, Jon. Let's start off here first with Gluegate. What in the world was that lady thinking?
Yeah, Ron, it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life, man. I mean, we're in the middle of this super intense game. It's kind of like chaotic at the time because there's all these emotions involved, and the Clippers and the Wolves are going at it. And it's late in the second quarter. And all of a sudden, and it happened kind of right in front of where we sit in the media area. And they're shooting free throws on the other end of the court. And I see this woman kind of like walk out just barely onto the court and sort of like kneel down. And no one really knew what was going on at the time. I thought, Ron, that somehow, some way she had like fallen and hurt herself because she was really kind of crumpled up in this weird position. and you could see like everyone's looking around like, what is happening? And the security come onto the court. A couple of players go to check on her. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes kind of clear that she's glued her hand to the court as some sort of a protest about the treatment of animals on a Glenn Taylor farm in Iowa or something like this. And it was just so weird. And she clearly thought she was going to be there for a long time. And they just grabbed her, pulled her hand off the court, and escorted her out of there. But no one really kind of knew for about a good 5 or 10 minutes. And like, then you're starting to put things together. You read what her shirt says and all this. And, but yeah, it really like, it changed the whole atmosphere in the building for a good 5 or 6 minutes there. And I honestly think that helped the Wolves. It just gave them a chance to catch their breath and calm down. And they got back into the game. So she wanted to mess things up for Glenn Taylor. She ended up helping him for a while.
Thank you. I said that. Like the minute she did it, after they start coming back, I tweeted that. I'm like, this lady might have just helped them come back in the second, because I've looked at this series now 6 games, but 5 games prior, the 5 games prior to this playing game, they had every team that was up in the first half won the game, except for the one time where the Clippers found a way to come back from a 10-point deficit and win. So the Clippers had the edge 2-3. And I said, whoever wins the first half is going to win this game. So when I turned on the game, I was nervous because when I turned it on, they were down. So as soon as I got home, turned it on as quick as I could, they were down. And so I was nervous because I'm like, they're down. And if they lose in the first half, it's only happened one time out of the 5 that they've been able, the opposing team has been able to come back. So yeah, I think she completely helped out. I think, I don't think she thought it through. Like she should have put glue in her hand first and let it kind of dry like Gorilla Glue and then go to the court for the last minute stick, because she wasn't serious. I felt like it was a tantrum of a kid that throws a tantrum, but really doesn't want to do anything bad. Like kids know, like if a kid really wanted to do something bad, they could break a window, they could throw glasses. They know what to do with a tantrum. Like they know to cry just long enough or to stump just long enough before they really do something that they can't come back from. And I feel like that's like, because in the end, honestly, like if they had let her glue herself to the floor, like what she would have had to do to get unglued, whether it's rip skin off, like she wasn't really, she used Elmer's probably washable school glue. I just think it was all just for show. She wasn't really a diehard. She wasn't gonna, chain herself to the rim and swallow the key. That's we really are all about this life. Like if you chain yourself to the back to the the stanchion and swallow the key to the point where they have to go call somebody to get the jaws of life in, and all of a sudden the Minneapolis Fire Department has to show up to cut her out. Like then I'm like, okay, this lady's about this life. The Elmer's glue, I just think she was trying to help Pat Bev out. She's a Pat Bev fan. You even saw him have a conversation with her. Like, I told you, it worked. It worked. Thanks. Like you gave us an extra time out. So honestly, I'm looking forward to teams across the country or fans when their team is down now and refs aren't giving them calls to realize like, I got to do something. Like I got to run on the court butt naked. I gotta do something. But let's go a step further. Lavelle E. Neal He tweeted that the Timberwolves are jokes. Basically, he was in agreement with Shaq and Barkley's and their laughs and Kenny Smith about the Timberwolves celebration. After you think about the fact that this was potentially Karl-Anthony Towns' anniversary of losing his mom, you look at the way he fouled out, you look at the game he played, you look at the way Pat Beverly, D'Angelo Russell, and Edwards had to step up, and they went from 23 wins to 46 wins. They doubled their win total to make it to the playoffs. Are you for the celebration? Or are you against it as well? Where do you fall?
I'm for the celebration, Ron. And just to be clear, I cover the Wolves. And so some people say, oh, you're defending them. Like I've typically been for celebrations all of the time in sports. Sports are supposed to be fun. You're supposed to enjoy it. And here was my thing on it. And Lavelle's a great friend of mine. And, and so we're tight and stuff, but he seemed to be, I thought the TNT guys in general were kind of just poking fun and it was a little playful. I thought Lavelle was a little more like really looking down his nose at it and a little curmudgeonly about it. And for me, here's my whole issue with it, Ron. Like a lot of times what you hear, especially from older people watching the NBA, is the kids these days don't care about the game. None of this matters to them. Like back in the day, Bird and Magic, like they hated each other. Mikhail is clotheslining Kurt Rambis, and like they really got after it. And this was important. Now they don't care about it. Well, now here in this case, like they cared about this. Like it was clearly meant something to them. And yeah, it wasn't the championship, but for an organization that has only been in the playoffs one time in the last 18 years before this, like this was a big moment for them. Couple it with they were down 10 points in the fourth quarter without their best player who had fouled out, and they stormed back to win the game. I mean, what do you expect them to do? Do you expect them to just shake hands and walk off the court? I mean, it was an insane environment. The whole place was absolutely rocking. And I think they got swept up in that as much as the fans got swept up in the game action itself. So I was all for it. I thought it really just showed the passion of these guys and how much they really cared about winning that game, getting a matchup with Memphis that they like a lot more than Phoenix, and not having to go into a situation where you're playing on Friday night, literally for your life. It's in or out. Like this was the game that clearly the Wolves threw everything they had at it to try and win it. And then they won it in dramatic fashion. And so if you want to celebrate, if you want to have a good time, I say go for it, man. You earned it.
Yeah, and so when you think about Pat Beverly, even like my favorite quote of his, he was getting interviewed on TV, national show, and they said, "At what point did you realize you were going to jump on the scores table? 5 minutes left in the game, 1 minute left in the game, 10 seconds left." He said the night before, and to me, that was the best thing ever. And he had a serious face because we know how he loves to, like, even if he's joking, he's going to give you, he's going to give you the Pat Bev treatment. And the guys on the panel are laughing at it and blah blah. Dude was kind of low-key serious. Like, he really probably thought, like, you know what? Like, I'm playing my old team. I've done that. When we play the Badgers and I know there's a chance we're going to win the Axe, or we're playing, the Hawkeyes and there's a chance we're going to win the Pig, I'm honestly kind of thinking about it in the hotel the night before. Like, if it's a close game and I catch a touchdown, am I going to run over and grab the Pig? I know one time I scored and I asked for a cheerleader's number. Like, I've been trying to find the clip. I found kind of a grainy clip. I think Justin Guard found one and tweeted it out, but I've been trying to find a better. Yeah, like I just, in my mind, I didn't, and that was not a premeditated ask for your number. It was kind of a joke. But then it's funny, people have showed me the clip now because the cheerleader kind of jumps up and down as if, I don't know if she was excited or she was like, what? I can't believe he just did that. But, for Pat Bev to do what he did, one, I think it shows an older guy enjoying it, making it okay for the younger guys to realize it's okay to celebrate because they're watching the veterans. Like, if he had just kind of chilled and walked, because I looked at Anthony Edwards, and if you watch it back, Anthony Edwards looks over at Pat Bev first before he jumps on the table. Like, I don't think he would have done that. I think he was following suit. That's why when I watched it, Like, look at Anthony Edwards. He looks over at him and says, oh, this dude's on the table. I'm getting on the table. And then he takes his, shows his abs off and whatever. Like, I don't think Anthony Edwards knew that was coming. That was pure, I'm following Big Brother. I'm going to do what my big bro is doing. And I think the organic nature of that, of Pat Bev to be the leader in the celebration and D'Angelo Russell to then, go over and do the same. Whereas Cat was more melancholy because we don't know what he was going through mentally, but also he's like, man, like I don't know if I deserve to celebrate, because we know how great players feel when they don't do well in moments. Like, I think he feels like he let his team down, and I hope that lights a fire. But in my opinion, the 6th seed was not the place you wanted to be. The 7th, even though it is a play-in spot, the 7th is where you want to be with the Grizzlies. Last one, what do you think of this Grizzlies team, and do you think the Timberwolves can get it done in 6?
Well, so number one, I love the Grizzlies team. I love their swagger. I love their confidence. They play together incredibly well, and I honestly think this is a Spider-Man meme game. Like, these are two young teams that play with a lot of swag, that love to talk trash, that really believe in themselves, and are kind of going in trying to make names for themselves again. And so I think it's going to be an unbelievable series. The way that they match up with each other is great. And yeah, I think that, the Wolves for sure wanted the Grizzlies, not the Suns, in this, because they believe that they have a chance. The way that the series went this year, it was 2-2. There was 2 really tight games. They won one game by 43 points. I think karl-Anthony Towns always plays better against the Grizzlies, against Steven Adams, against Jaren Jackson Jr. So I do not anticipate that he will have the kind of game that he did against the Clippers. I think he's going to play really well. And yes, I do believe that the Timberwolves can win this series. This is a game. This is a one that they are going to go into, and it's not like facing a team like Phoenix, who was in the finals last year, who has Chris Paul, Devin Booker, guys who have been through the wars, Jay Crowder. The Grizzlies, for the most part, are very new to this, just like the Wolves are. And so there's not a real advantage for the Grizzlies in terms of playoff experience, in terms of like knowing what that stage feels like. I mean, they were there last year for a minute, but they were bounced quickly. And so that's going to be a good thing for the Wolves. I also just think that the way that the Grizzlies play offensively plays a little bit more into the Wolves' hands from a defensive standpoint. And so, yeah, I think that this is a series that can go 6 or 7 games, that the Wolves absolutely are going to go in expecting that they can win. And I think that there is a really good chance that they will win it.